E.H. Taylor and George T. Stagg, some of the world's best whiskey, but did you know that the men behind these bottles hated each other? Welcome to another episode of Whistery, where I explore the rich and colorful heritage behind your favorite beverage. I'm your professor, Bourbon Barry, and do I have a story for you? The business relationship between George T. Stagg and Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor was so contentious that the men came to blows on several occasions. But before I tell you that story, let's learn a little bit about the men behind the bottles. George T. Stagg was born in 1835 near Lancaster, Kentucky. He married in 1858 and settled in Richmond, Kentucky, and worked as a shoe salesman. Soon after that, the Civil War hit, and in 1861, Stagg joined the Union Army. He was an infantryman and saw a lot of combat, and he also developed a reputation as a skilled bare-knuckle brawler. He had a distinguished record in the Civil War and ultimately rose to the level of captain. After the Civil War, Stagg moved to Missouri, where he met a successful businessman by the name of James Gregory. And together they formed Gregory and Stagg Commercial Merchants and Distillers. And Stagg went on to sell bourbon throughout the country. All right, what about E.H. Taylor? So Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. was born in Kentucky in 1830. At the age of 5, Taylor's father died, and he was sent to live with his great-uncle, Zachary Taylor. Yep, future President Zachary Taylor. In fact, E.H. Taylor was a descendant of two U.S. presidents, Zachary Taylor and James Madison. In 1851, Taylor moved back to Lexington, Kentucky to complete his education. And it was in working in Kentucky as a banker that Taylor realized how much money could be made in the distilling industry. After the Civil War, Taylor joined the firm Gaines Berry & Company. They held brands such as Old Crow. Taylor was a driven man, and he was driven to make the very best whiskey possible. In fact, he spent a year in Europe learning distillation techniques. In 1869, he purchased a distillery on the Frankfurt River and renamed it Old Fashioned Copper, or OFC. He was also a brilliant marketer, and he renovated the distillery to make it attractive to tourists from all over. But in 1870, there was an economic downturn, and his distillery was close to bankruptcy. And by 1877, it was reported that Taylor owed Gregory and Stagg's firm more than $150,000. Now, George T. Stagg recognized that keeping the Taylor name would be critical to the future success of the distillery. And in 1879, Stagg formed the E.H. Taylor Jr. Company with Stagg as president and E.H. Taylor as vice president. Unfortunately, these guys didn't see eye to eye, and over the 6-year period that Taylor worked for Stagg, their relationship deteriorated so much that these guys often came to blows. And at the core of their dislike for each other, Taylor believed in producing the highest quality product, while Stagg believed in the pump and dump philosophy, producing the cheapest whiskey as fast as possible. And by 1884, Taylor couldn't take it anymore, and he resigned from the company. And it gets even worse. During their breakup, Stagg agreed to take Taylor's name off of everything. But afterwards, he realized the value in Taylor's name, and he reneged on that deal. And you guessed it, lawsuits followed, and it wasn't until 1890 that they were resolved. One of the ironies is that after the breakup, the George T. Stagg Distillery became the world's biggest producer of bourbon and also developed a reputation for high quality, which obviously came from Mr. Taylor. And Taylor built his castle, the Old Taylor Distillery, and continued his pursuit of producing the world's best whiskey. These two men were titans of the industry that were diametrically opposed on how they thought the industry should be run. But interestingly enough, these two names now reside under the same roof. And of course, that roof is now known as the Buffalo Trace Distillery. And the next time you enjoy a sip of one of these incredible bourbons, hopefully you'll know just a little bit more about the amazing men behind the labels. I'm your Professor Bourbon Barry. Thanks for watching.